agenda, so even though we might be running 15 minutes late, we're still going to finish on time at 5:30, and you will still get your full 40 minutes for lunch. I was only teasing earlier. So, if I can introduce the final speaker for today, David Ockley-Hill from Luton Friends of the Earth. Take it away, David.
Right. My first campaign was actually to help the council see off Tesco, who wanted to build a local wood, so I was delighted to hear that one earlier. Luton Friends of the Earth has, for various reasons, not my fault, lost members over recent years, and so we're down to about 5 with a lot of experience, but except for me, very little time to give. We did organise a Fix the Food Chain party last year, with speakers on soya and palm oil from Friends of the Earth, and RAP's Love Food, Hate Waste campaign. We brought nice food, and we played live songs about food, and that went down well. But anyway, because of the short numbers, we've partially made up for this by being good at networking. The Local Strategic Partnership, or LSP, is a national setup which in theory sits above the council, although the council facilitates. It includes bodies responsible for learning and skills, health, education, policing, firefighting, legal services, and representation from business and from the East of England Government Office. And Luton Assembly represents the voluntary sector. And it occupies a third of the LSP, so it's a fair amount of clout really. Our representatives are elected, and I stood representing FOE when it began in 2003, and have been re-elected every year, about 6 times. I was persuaded to be chair of Luton Assembly's Environment and Economy Network, and I headhunted organisations who agreed to supply people for our committee. So we now have someone from Transition Luton, Groundwork, the Greensand Trust, Safer Luton Partnership, a Bangladeshi group called Safer Planet, and Sustrans. And assisted by Friends of the Earth and Assembly colleagues, I've written much of our overarching plan, the Sustainable Community Strategy, and responses to documents such as the pathetic Local Transport Plan. I won't do much about Luton being 12% above national average car use. The local economic assessment and the core strategy for our growth area, opposing bypasses and draconian levels of housing and putting forward instead sustainable alternatives. Sadly, we failed to stop the disastrous Luton Dunstable busway, which no one wants. We've fought for 17 years and could bankrupt the town when it overruns, like Cambridge. The Labour government, unfortunately, wrote Luton a cheque for 80 million the day before the election. They've already ripped up a mature wildlife corridor. What's needed to get people out of their cars and cut CO2 is the Regional East-West Railway. Anyway, I leave that for the moment. That's a failure in a way. We recently went to a public meeting about a proposed solar farm, which would occupy 2 fields but allow for meadowland and grazing, and a small amphitheatre in a corner for school visits. The local owner was there along with consultants, and at the end of the evening, after many penetrating questions, one woman said, "I haven't heard anything tonight that worries me," and was widely applauded, so we hope it will go ahead. We've lost many historic buildings over the years. There's currently a consultation, so we're looking at worthwhile historic buildings to add to the local list for protection. We've set up 2 subgroups, one on biodiversity. I also sit on a Friends of Parks group and led liaison with the Parks Department to research and shortlist new allotment sites, and with Groundwork to discover old orchard sites and replant new orchards there. We're also talking to schools and colleges about creating meadows, planting trees and hedges, and bringing school allotments into the curriculum. We've done lots of tree planting ourselves along the River Lee corridor. The other subgroup is energy and sustainable buildings. Schools make up half of the carbon in eco-footprint of the Central Beds Authority. So we thought we should try to encourage some sustainable best practice in construction, design and behaviour to reduce this enormous eco-footprint. So our subgroup upskilled ourselves, went to last year's Eco-Build exhibition, and we also visited an inspiring example of an eco-school, Howdell at Hatfield, which has PV and solar hot water panels and a wind turbine and a great ethos. We were shown around the school by 3 very clued up 10-year-olds. We've met building schools for the future. They were so impressed by us, we've appointed their external challengers, and we met them twice last year, and we've tried to direct their building projects to be more sustainable and achieve better BREEAM ratings. And we followed this up yesterday with a 3-hour meeting with Barnfield, one of the UK's most successful educational bodies, which runs both academies and colleges, and we've given them 20 thought-provoking questions, which I'll just drop, to consider. They just built 2 colleges, and we hope we can improve their plans for their new one. They'll take us on a site visit soon. I've also used Twitter for a year as Green Poet, and I find it useful for networking with a wide variety of people.
Great, thank you, David. Okay, that's it. You've been a wonderful audience. I hope you've enjoyed all the speakers. Can I ask for one more final round of applause for all 10 of our wonderful speakers today? Great, thank you everyone. Hopefully you're buzzing with ideas and inspiration. If you want to talk to people, I'm sure they'll be available over lunch. We can give out email addresses for all the speakers that have been here today, so you can contact them. Now you've got a full 40 minutes for lunch, so we'll see you back here at 1.